This is a meeting of the Borough Council on June 16, 2021. The notice requirements provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of properly given by transmission to the Asbury Park Press and the Two River Times, and by posting at the Borough of Highlands Municipal Building and filing with the Borough Clerk all on January 1, 2021. Please stand for the pledge. I will now call roll. Councilmember Martin?
Here.
Councilmember Mazzola? Here. Councilmember Melnick?
Here.
Council President Olszewski? Here. Mayor Brion?
Here.
And just for the record, Administrator Michael Masuo is absent. On tonight's agenda, we have approval of minutes. May 5th, 2021, executive meeting minutes. May 5th, 2021, regular session minutes. May 19th, regular meeting minutes. June 2nd, 2021, regular meeting minutes.
I'd like to make a motion that we do 1 through 3 together, since all were present for those.
Second.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
And that's to approve.
Yes.
The motion. Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Olszewski?
Yes.
Mayor Brion?
Yes.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion for the fourth?
I will make that motion.
I'll second. Councilmember Martin?
Yeah, abstain.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Olszewski?
Yes.
Mayor Brion?
Yes.
Motion carries to approve. Next item on the agenda, we have 2 ordinances for public hearings and final adoption. The first is 02127, an ordinance amending Chapter 2-10.15C of the Borough Code with regard to hourly rates for officers performing off-duty work.
Public portion. Does anyone have any questions regarding this ordinance or statements? Okay. Go ahead.
Give us 1 moment, Ms. Ford. I'm sorry, we don't have the microphone. Thank you. We try to save the battery until it's... Thank you.
Tim Scork at Short Drive. Just a quick question, how the hourly rate compares to what our average officer salary hourly rate is. I know we can't make money on this ordinance, I just want to make sure we're not going to be losing it.
Andy, would you like to address that as in regards to the contract?
How's that? Sorry about that. I don't know the officer hourly rates off the top of my head. It's something that would have to be run by the administrator. As far as the figures that are used here, those are set in the collective negotiation agreements, so they're brought up to date by this ordinance in order to comply with those requirements.
So even if the officers got paid more, like for their rate, there's nothing we can do because it's contractual.
It's bound by those agreements,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Yep.
Does anyone else have a question regarding this ordinance? Okay, I'll close the public portion. Is there anything from the table regarding this ordinance? And with that, I'll offer it.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Olszewski?
Yes.
Mayor Brion?
Yes.
This ordinance is passed on second and The next ordinance for tonight is O-2128, bond ordinance providing for the construction of a new municipal building, appropriating $10 million therefor, and authorizing the issuance of 4,750,000 bonds and notes to finance a portion of the cost thereof authorized in and by the Borough of Highlands and County of Monmouth, New Jersey.
Before I open this to the public, I just want to do a brief timeline and also let folks know that since Sandy, 3 mayors, 15 different council members, and 4 administrators has worked toward this goal of getting this building out to bid. To go through that timeline, obviously, October 2012 was Hurricane Sandy. During the entire year of 2015, 1 year was spent on site search with community input to have the funds up. March 2016, we RFP'd for the architect. April of 2016, we appropriated $3 million for preliminary work and the purchase of the property. For those keeping score, it's Ordinance 16-7. Of that appropriation, $1,200,000 was a female reimbursement. $1,710,000 are bonds, and $90,000 were from the borough funds for capital improvement. May of 2016, we interviewed the top 4 architects from the scoring sheet. In September 2017, we signed the contract with Trenton, the Archdiocese, for 181 Navesink for a cost of $450,000. In October of 2018, Santabrino was awarded architect. December 2018 was the actual sale date when the property transferred from the church to the borough. June of 2019, demo begins on the convent and the thrift shop. August 2019, demo of 171 Bay Avenue. September 29th, a special meeting where Mayor O'Neill gave an overview of this project as well as other capital projects that we're working on. September of 2020, the borough opened up the parking lot at 171 Bay Avenue. May of 21, the Zoom meeting with New Jersey OEM, architect, CFO, administrator, and myself, and that is where, from that call, the $5 million today. So with that background, just if everyone didn't know all of those things, I just wanted to have it out there for everyone to know. And I will open this up for public portion. Or public comment, rather. Excuse me.
I just want the record to reflect that these are personal comments on my own behalf.
State your name.
Name and, yes.
Anna Little of 52 Fifth Street in Highlands, but I need to make this statement. It's personal feelings with regard to a matter as a taxpayer in the borough of Highlands. It's nothing to do with my employment. I'm here to speak in favor, council, of the municipal building project. I feel it is extremely important for this town to have a business office that we can call our own. I think it's extremely important that we have a police department location, a public safety location that we can call our own. There are 2 major priorities, health and safety. That goes for us in our personal lives, it also goes for us as a town. And as you as a council representing us, I think that it is your obligation to provide for the health and safety of us, especially when we call for it. I think with regard to the public safety element of this, the police at this point are not complaining, and I think it reflects very well on their character. They've been working out of trailers since Sandy. And I remember the old Borough Hall, and they were not in good conditions in the old Borough Hall either. When I was mayor, the cells that we used, I wouldn't even call them, the detention area, just wasn't up to the standards. It was not up to standards. They did their best, and they did get the requisite approvals, but it was a substandard situation as far as I was concerned. And I would not have wanted to be held. And some people needed to be there for at least a day or 2. So I think that this is necessary for many, many years. I do not think that this is this $10 million is a cost that would be prohibitive for this residents need to remember that this is a municipal building. It is not a home. These kinds of costs include ADA compliance. They include public safety requirements. They may or may not include some requirements for OEM type activities, communications. There are requirements on this building that would not be in an apartment or a home. So the cost of $10 million does not seem to be prohibitive to me as a taxpayer. It certainly doesn't appear to be prohibitive to me as a local mayor. I do remember us discussing a firehouse, which was supposed to be built by somebody else back when I was a council person. We're going back years, and the cost of that was comparable, and we built that. And we took that on because we couldn't get it built, and that was because we did not want to have the town as a tinderbox burn down because of response times. I think with public safety, we're in a similar situation. If there is a problem here in Highlands, we cannot wait for a neighboring town under shared services to come down and take a look at it. We're a very small community, and we're vulnerable. And so we need our police force on site, and we need them to have a place to operate out of, which is up to 2021 standards. And so I'm here to speak in favor of that. I think that with regard to grant money, there was a concern. I've been listening at a couple of meetings now that we needed a commitment from FEMA in writing before, and that's impossible. Procedurally, you must make a commitment as a borough to build the project before any grant money is going to be committed by any other agency. And if you don't make that commitment, it will result in a denial of the grant. So that procedure needs to be understood by folks who want to speak to these grant commitments. If you don't take the step to build this building, you will not receive grant money from an agency back. And this is money that you've already paid in your taxes as taxpayers, and it is money that you will be getting back to the Borough of Highlands by applying for the grant. And sometimes there are some requirements that you need to meet in order to get that grant money, and I believe that may have been considered also in the design of this building. So I'm 100% in favor of this. I do think it's a necessity in this town. There are other things we can compromise on, but not this municipal building. And with regard to shared services, if we pay $80,000, whatever that figure might be, to another town just to use their courtroom for the court benefit, that is kind of like a situation where you're at the mercy of that town to raise that at any time, knowing that you're vulnerable and you don't have a place to operate out of. And it's also an open-ended expense. The Borough Hall, one would hope, would eventually be paid off, and then we'd be able to use it without paying any money monthly. Whereas if you are sharing services, you are constantly paying. And I think in the case of a courtroom, I mean, it's one room, and use it as your council meeting location, and I think that that's appropriate, and it's what's been done in the historical parks. I think there are towns here all over the shore that do it, and I don't think that we should be in less standard than they are. So we need a place we can be proud of.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valerie Montecalvo. For those of you who don't know me, 33-year Highland resident, live at 104 Portland Road, start family here, and my husband and I plan to retire here. One of the things that we have been trying to do in the past probably 2 years is look at to help Highlands and use some of the talents from our business careers to help rebuild. And one of the most important things that we see here is that there is no anchor for not only the Highlands community, but for our police department, for our OEM, for somewhere that we can call home, hang our hat on, and be proud of. So I echo all of Anna's sentiments and everything that she so eloquently said. So I am in full support, and my family's in full support of, and it seems like it's a big number, this $10 million expenditure. What I would like to point out is I've heard a lot of people talking about the difference in the cost of the original estimate versus what the estimate is now because of the demand and supply and demand and cost of building supplies. One thing I would like to point out that we need to explore, because everyone, all of the people, and I've been listening to a lot of meetings and planning board meetings, and most of my career I spent working, and I didn't get to spend that much time here in Highlands and helping out with municipal matters. But lately I've been hearing a lot on both sides of the fence, and I would like to point out that there's so much talent here, but it seems that we do have a big rift in communications. So I'm hoping that through the construction of this Borough Hall, that maybe everyone can come together, because with possibly rebuilding Bay Avenue and going in an area in need of redevelopment, there are some very creative things that the borough can do with all of your smart minds together with the pilot programs, which is the payment in lieu of taxes. And by creating the pilot, and the town gets 100% of the tax revenue. It doesn't have to share it. And with that, we can creatively figure out a way that the additional taxes coming into the town can use to be paying the deficit or that delta with the cost of the original proposal for construction and then what it actually comes out to. Not only that, we'll be attracting new businesses, new families, to make this town into, quote, Sister Carmelisa, the jewel by the sea. So with that said, our family is in full support, and we'll do anything that we can to help bring this town together and to bring unity to people who might not understand or know what it's like to be a volunteer. And I'd like to say that too, is that all of our people who are here in civil service and who are our mayors, our council people, we're volunteers. And I spend a lot of my days now volunteering, and it is a not easy thing to do. So please, let's try to support who's ever in office. So thank you very much.
Susan Clement, 36 Madison Avenue. I'll keep this brief because we had this said everything that I need to say. We need to have this building, and we need it now. We owe it to our children. We owe it to the police department. It's not going to get cheaper while we argue about it. So let's stop the analysis paralysis and get this ordinance passed. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Pat Hoffman, 75 Highland Avenue. I've only lived here for 2 years, and I'm very glad I came tonight because I just learned all about how to get the FEMA money. I don't think anybody else understood until I schooled it a little while ago, at least those of us who haven't been involved. As a union organizer and rep for 35 years, I feel like I'm looking at OSHA violations in those trailers. I think these people need a place to work that's safe, that they're not locked in, that if you think the building is in there, and someplace where you can reach and go in and get what you need to have a project built. I moved into this town not knowing anyone and did a lot of crying, frankly, for the trailer, trying to figure out how it's supposed to get the information. So, this is a town that's up and coming. It's a beautiful town. I'm thrilled to live here, and I think we deserve this. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Luke Bollerman. I am the managing member of Sandy Hook Developers, also known as One Willow and Sandy Hook Bay Marina. And I have sat here for a long time and seen different capitals. And I want to thank everybody here, all the council members here and the leadership here who have put this together. This is not an easy undertaking, but I will tell you that the borough needs to think in advance. The town is growing. So what we do today is going to set the stage for not 5, not 10, 20 years from now. As the town grows, municipal services grow. We need more police officers, we need more EMT, we need more firemen, we need more inspectors, so on and so forth. So investing in municipal buildings is going to be a wonderful thing for the borough. I speak in favor of it. We're also taxpayers here. I think everybody has a sensitivity to that, but I think it's something that we need to do in order to invest in the future of the town. And I thank everybody for undertaking it, and let's prepare for the application.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sherry O'Connor. I'm actually a future resident of this town and I'm excited about being in favor of this building. I'm from a beach town all the way out. We went through a lot of changes, and it's just so important, having been there, done that, and it's so important to have organization and leadership and skills, and this town has such a great future and a great place that people want to be. People want to have a business. People want to raise their children. It's perfect. So I speak in favor of it as a almost new resident as of July 2nd.
Thank you.
Melissa Peterson, Main Street. Very vocal about being against it for a numerous amount of reasons. I think there's a compromise, and it's very disheartening that a compromise won't be considered. I think it's also disheartening that this is the second time it's up, and that it was voted against. And if I could read some words from Ms. Martin, I don't trust female. I'll be very honest with you. I'll be blunt. When I ran for this position, I ran for this position with the people in mind. I ran for this position with the people I hang out with, eat, drink with every single day. And I was incredibly remiss not to be surprised on how many people were here today and that are clearly concerned, and it would go against everything that I'm running for. And for that, I'm going to say no. So, Mr. Martin, at this point in time, I kind of feel sorry for you. Because I do. And this is the reason why. If you vote with the rest of them, if you kind of also alluded to that you didn't want to give in to the conspiracy theories, that you only vote the way the mayor tells you to, and now you're in a position where you kind of have to go either back on your word or move forward with your conviction. And if you move forward with your conviction, you're going to get coded. And if you don't, there's a bunch of people here that are paying a very close attention to what you're voting for and what you're standing for or what you're not standing for. And as far as the future, it really kind of hurts me that if we're against the actual town hall, we want to compromise, we want it to, we don't want champagne taste with bare money, that we're against the police officers, because that's not the case. We don't want people that it's put on us that all of a sudden we're gaslit, being told, well, you don't want, you want to keep people in trailers. That's not true. And as far as like the court, for example, because I've been working on the court, there's a pilot program right now to have a countywide court system. And right now it's in Atlantic, it's in Cape May, it's in Cumberland County, it's in Salem County. And right now there's just a bunch of smaller courts that are going to use it countywide. They're figuring it's going to save about 30 to 40% per year of court costs. No town is building their Taj Mahal. And they're building it, if you actually go read their website, it says to pick up some of the smaller municipalities' stuff. And they're also incorporating the county stuff. So we don't necessarily need a court system. And it's a shame to go spend the money because certain people want it. Certain people are stuck on their egos when we don't need it. Save the money, figure out a compromise. That's it.
John Bentham, 39 Washington Avenue. For those of you who don't know me, I am a sixth-generation Highlands resident. I am a former two-term councilman, and I have served on every single board in this town at one point or another. I won't bore you with the rest of my resume. I want to say I'm absolutely in favor of the Borough Hall, and in reference to what the previous speaker had to say, yes.
If we could please not talk amongst ourselves so everyone can hear the speaker that is being recognized. Thank you. I appreciate it.
What I'd like to say, and I had planned on saying, other than talking about the merits of a new Borough Hall, which is an obvious thing that we need, this is a historic moment for you council people. And, I've been there, and I've been a fledgling council person. I remember what it was like to be first-year council person and have to make some tough calls. And I can tell you for a fact, there was never anything we did when it came to bringing a ferry service in town and all kinds of other things, when there wasn't somebody that wanted to come out and speak against it. And it didn't matter what the merits were, or how good it was, or what reasons you had for doing it. There's always going to be somebody that's going to come out with pitchforks and torches and go nuts about it. And as far as I'm going to address it to Mr. Martin, because it was his previous speaker addressed it to you, don't be intimidated by anybody. There is a famous English parliamentarian that said, when you're in charge and you're a leader, you don't sacrifice your good judgment to everybody else's opinion. When you're in charge, you're in charge. And if it's the right thing to do, then you go and vote for it. And it doesn't matter if anybody's going to vote for you for re-election. The hell with it. If you're there for 1 year, 3 years, if you do the right thing every single time and you don't get elected again, so damn be it. And that's it. But as far as the borough hall goes, it's something we need. Everybody's got to bite the bullet. When we had a previous borough hall that got wiped out, somebody had to vote for that. Nobody likes to pay more in taxes. You'd have to be crazy to want to. But you know, we got borough halls and buildings in this country that have been here before the revolution, and they're still standing. Because borough hall is a capital project, and they're meant to last for a lot of years. So it's not like you're building an ice cream parlor or ice rink or something like that. This is something that's going to be here for a lot of years. And there should be no compromise on this. If it's going to be done, then do it right. And the town needs to make a decision. Either we're going to be a town of Highlands, or we're going to be the poor cousin to somebody else. And we should let them take this over. And that has to be a decision that has to be made. But as far as this goes, I think you guys got to make the call and do what's right and vote for this.
Thank you.
Kim Skorka, Short Drive. Show of hands. Who wants to keep everybody in trailers? Okay, so we have a common ground of 100% of the audience participation. Nobody wants to keep our employees in trailers. Everybody thinks they deserve a building. Plumbing, electricity, no cats underneath it. We all agree on that. So let's build on that unity, and let's work on a compromise. We won't need a court system. And for everybody who's like, oh, well, it's $80,000 or whatever we paid with Atlantic Highlands. When we take that in-house, not only do we have to pay the judge, which we do now, but we have to hire a court clerk, and we have to hire an assistant court clerk, with all the perks and benefits that come with it. So don't expect it to be as cheap as sharing the services with Atlantic Highlands. I have a question on the holding cells, because we are trying to compromise. I understand we need a police department. I understand we need holding cells. I understand there are Department of Justice or whatever it is that mandates what they need to be. Seabright only has 2. Why do we need 3?
The old building had 3 cells. The new building has 2.
Okay, thank you. That's good to hear. I was told that it was a male holding cell, a female holding cell, and handicap. I heard there were 3 going into the
That's not correct.
Okay. We might be able to clear that up because I keep being told, or we keep being told, that we can't see the floor plans of the security risk. If you go to the Middletown website, you can find, I don't know, it's like an 80-page report on their new borough hall. There's 3 pages of floor plans. They show you where the offices are, where the courtroom is, shows you the police department. If Middletown can do it, why can't we? I saw plans early on that showed where all the offices were. I can't remember if I saw the police department or not. It's been a long time. But I saw them once, and it was in a public meeting like this. I don't understand why they're being hidden, unless things are trying to be snuck in. I heard that the judge's chamber is going to have a shower, and I heard that the police department is getting a locker room and a weight room and a nice fitness facility. Not saying they don't deserve it, but there's no way to verify it because you won't release plans that'll show us what's actually there. And I keep bringing this up, and it's actually been a couple of months. And unfortunately, Mr. Michello's not here. Kind of dragged your feet on going to the state and having that DCA do the study on our police department. Maybe we could find a way to share services and bring somebody into our town. Same thing with the courtroom. We're going to have our own courtroom. All these years, all these council members, all these administrators, Who's looking to bring shared services into Highlands? If we're paying all that money to Atlantic, they're a neighboring town that maybe we could bring in here to share our services. Yeah, no, nobody bothers to look at these things. Nobody bothers to try and figure out how to get what we need while saving the tax dollars money. You just keep spending, spending, spending.
I'll address the answers to your questions before my vote.
Okay? Thank you. Oh, just a couple other things. Let's not talk about how crappy our old Borough Hall was, because FEMA may not give us as much money if they give us any at all. Someone mentioned that we're planning for the future. We're 1 square mile and we're pretty developed. I think there's one parcel on the hill that might get some density. But we're not going to have 10,000 residents in this town. Not anytime soon. We're barely at 5 right now. There's really not much more you can develop. And as for the pilot programs to help pay for this, as far as I know, there's none on the table. There might be a pilot for Harborside and Hudson Ferry. That's 2/3 over, 2/5 rather. There really isn't much way to get other people to foot the bill. And just an aside, when somebody pays a pilot, we pick up their share of the school taxes.
Claudette Dorigo, 12 Cedar. To expand on what Melissa was addressing, this was put on the governor's desk on June 9th, 2021. Regional municipal courts covering whole county will be coming soon to New Jersey, under legislation endorsed by 2 legislative committees that will reach Governor Murphy's desk this month. Assignment Judge Julio Mendez of the Atlantic Vicinage said the pilot program authorized by A517/S30549, and I can give that to anybody who wants it, will allow counties to host regional courts, which he said can enhance the delivery of justice and will do so more efficiently. This program would be limited to smaller and less densely populated counties and towns. At least 5 municipalities per county would have to take part. Atlantic County has plans to merge up to 16 municipal courts into one court starting in January. It is a 2-year commitment that can be an example to the rest of the state. This plan will save participating municipalities anywhere from 30 to 40% on average, and in most cases, even more. That's significant to the bottom line for the taxpayers of those municipalities. Retired Superior Court Judge Mark Sanson said the merged courts will provide better services for things like addiction recovery. It's great that taxpayers will save a lot of money, tremendous. It's better than all sorts of indicia of fairness that this will enhance. The idea will be studied. I think the state's bar position is that regionalization of municipal courts, especially the smaller municipal courts, would benefit everyone. And that was said by, the head of the New Jersey State Bar Association. Assemblyman Raj, can't say the last name, of Hudson said it's not easy to encroach on homeroom in New Jersey, but all residents would benefit from such efforts to tame their property taxes. Consolidation and shared services in a variety of areas is just something that we have to do. We have to chip away at it. So that's what the state is saying. The DCA is also saying that they are encouraging, and they're coming out with a statement that they want consolidation. They want consolidation of these small towns. No one is against having a borough hall. I was on council in 2016, and I voted for it. I am not against a borough hall. I am against the fact that the cost of this borough hall has more than 50% increase. There's a problem there, and we need to address it. The taxpayers cannot handle it. And not only that, we're paying on an old $2 million loan, and we have to address what's going on with the Army Corps of Engineer project, which the town will also be on the hook for a minimum of $10 million that they have to bond. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pat. And that's a $100 million endeavor. So There's a lot at stake here. We have a lot of stuff going on, and the taxpayers are going to be on the hook for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. When I walked around and gave out those flyers yesterday, I cannot tell you how many people stopped me and thanked me and Melissa for at least stepping up and pointing out the facts to people. You have got to pay attention. This is all of our livelihood. You are driving old residents out of this town. They cannot afford it anymore. The taxes are off the scale. We have one of the highest tax rates per square foot in this state. You've got to pay attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Carla Sefalo, 62 Bradley Point Road. Just sitting here listening to everybody, and it's just what I can't understand is that I sat at a meeting in 2019 where the entire council voted unanimously, including Ms. Mazzola, including my husband, Ken Braswell. I'm not sure what this is even about other than becoming a political agenda. I think it's very sad that it has come to this, and I'm not sure why, when this was completely voted on, it was a matter of a design change because people didn't like the color or the look because it looked like a Howard Johnson. So I don't get it, why we're even at this point today. I hope, I just don't understand why we have to even be discussing this at the same meeting. I heard Mayor O'Neill, former Mayor O'Neill, say that this could cost $10 million, and that's exactly what we're talking about. So I'm not sure if it wasn't a problem then, why it's a problem now. I'm in full support as far as the comments on redevelopment and pilots. I was also told by the former mayor after we sat in the FEMA long-term recovery meeting. We had up the Economic Development Committee for the FEMA long-term recovery, and in a meeting at the Patak Towers, I brought up the word redevelopment areas and the benefits of redevelopment. And I was told by the former mayor that redevelopment is a bad word. Well, let me tell you today, it's the low-hanging fruits. It's New Jersey's. It's the tools for the rebirth. And that is happening in this town, whether we like it or not. There are stakeholders that have millions of dollars on the table ready to spend, but they will not do it until there is a Bay Avenue redevelopment area. We need this now more than ever, and I commend Mayor Brouillon for not having one redevelopment area, not saying it's a bad word, going to the League of Municipalities where I saw you learning all about it, and I commend you because hopefully we will now have 3 in the Borough of Highlands. So thank you, and I fully support the Borough Hall.
Thank you.
Terry Turner, Highway 36 in Highlands. I'm not against the Borough Hall. I think you all need a Borough Hall. I live in a condo. It's a glorified 2-bedroom, 1.5-bath apartment. Okay, my taxes are $5,000 a year. My family's born and raised here. If you guys just look at it and see if there's anything that you could do to lower the cost. I don't want to have to leave a town that was named after, like, my great-grandmother when it was Parker Town. I'd like to stay here. I've lived here my whole entire life. My family's from here, my grandmother, my great-grandmother. Just look at it and see if there's anything that you can do to just try to maybe lower the cost a little bit. I mean, what about the first aid building? There is no first aid building. Fire department has a nice building. You think the police department works in trailers that are dilapidated? I was the court administrator in Seabright for 10 years. And if anybody knows what the court in Seabright was like, it was in a trailer, no running water. I had sand fleas. The rain would come in the back door. The snow would come in the back door when the wind was blowing in the right direction. I had no running water, no bathroom, no nothing. And the animals were up underneath the trailer to get out of the elements. So I understand But they're trailers, and I'm not saying that they should stay in trailers. Nothing like I worked out for 10 years. Just try to see if there's any way to lower the cost. And you deserve a town hall. We need a town hall. But just see if there's any way you can lower the cost, because my glorified 2-bedroom, 1.5-bath condo cost me $5,000 a year in taxes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Warren, 254 State Route 36, the Brick House. I'd just like to say one comment. I mean, I've heard everyone talk on both sides. And to address a comment the gentleman made earlier about people with pitchforks, let me explain something to you. There's a belief these days that if you don't agree with me, then you're absolutely wrong, or carry a pitchfork. The last time I looked at the Constitution, everyone had a right to their opinion. We're having a discussion, okay, my friend? Discussion among people, and nobody's upset, and nobody's going after him, we're joking, okay? You should remember that when you make comments. Now, they talk about the $10 million price tag. Look, we all want it in some way or another. We don't want the police to be in the situation that they're. And I agree with you on the first statement. Those guys had a tough spot there. But today, I've been in contracting for 30 years. I was on a school board that had a $120 million budget that did expensive building development. And I'm going to tell you what we're looking at today. $10 million today is $15 million when it's finished. That's the bottom line. That's what's going to happen. It's always 50%. So that's the number we really need to talk about, is the $15 million that it's going to cost at the very end. So everyone's in agreement. We need this thing, whatever, with the final design, it's already there. Why are we not thinking about the court system? It seems to me that sounds like a pretty easy compromise. Let's just take the court system and consolidate that, as we're already doing. Whatever that fee is, if there was some sort of compromise that might bring everybody together, right? So we've had this project. It seems like it's been, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to go. We're going to do this our way. If there was a little bit of compromise, a little bit of show of, you know what, I'm willing to listen to what you have to say, or let's take a look at it. Do we really need to have a court system in a town of 5,000 people? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. I'm a believer that we don't need that. And what we could do is say, all right, let's bring everybody together. We don't need the court system. We can save a couple of bucks. We can all go home and have a cup of coffee and be happy with each other, and not be in this constant, do we got to build it? Do we don't have it? Do we have to build it? I think that's the thing, is that there's never been a willingness to see the other person's opinion, or just give it some value and not call it crazy, or say you're waving a pitchfork around, which we're not. I have a pen in my hand. I wrote down some notes. I came to express my opinion. That's it. I don't have any weapons or anything like that. Why can't we just look at each other and say, all right, let's sit down together. Here's the pie. We want this piece. You're going to get this piece. Everybody's going to get something to eat before they leave the table. And everyone can swallow that. I mean, that's just all the things I have to say. Hopefully, from this experience in the last couple of meetings, from what I've watched, that we can do that. We can come together and say, listen, we know you want this, you want that. Let's try to work together. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Mark Jones, 247 Bay Avenue. We're talking about having a pie. What I'm saying is the contract creates two things they talk about. They talk about it, they vote it on. This is already made. You're going to compromise on something now. You got to go back to the party. You got to go back to the plan. Then you got to go back to the construction cost. And you're talking another 2 years down the road. And then the cost is going to be finished. I mean, I don't understand. This was all decided. It was a company. We had this was years ago. I just don't understand why this keeps getting dragged out. And I do think is there's about 2 or 3 people that keep pushing buttons on everybody. And I've seen it happen, and I've seen it happen. And I'm sorry, but I cannot. And I just don't understand why we have this. It was decided. Pie is already made.
Thank you, Barbara.
Hi, Mary Salzman, Snug Harbor. What I don't understand is how we got here again after Ms. Martin talked about listening to people. And not so much that it shouldn't be done, but how is it that your guys are voting on the exact same thing? The point about, examining, well, how can we listen? How can we at least make these people who are raising these objections or raising these concerns, how can we at least make them feel like they're being heard? And I don't understand the do-over. I can't tell my kid to go back and, get a better ACT score so she can get into Harvard. I don't understand how, I know, Carolyn, you said that last time it wasn't illegal, but it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like ethically correct to say, oh, well, he said no the first time, and he gave a very long explanation that was very well considered. So Ms. Gordon, you haven't really said anything about what exactly happened. And also my other question is, I wonder, for example, if you had voted yes and then said it was a mistake, whether we would be having this conversation at all anyway. And just for the record, I really don't have like a big opinion on, exactly what needs to be done. It feels icky to me to just have a do-over. That's all.
Mr. Martin will address your questions before his vote.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle Giggle, 221 Main Street Avenue. We talked about people leaving Highlands. In the past year, I've seen at least 10 elderly people that have had to leave because they cannot afford their taxes. They picked their family up, sold their house, and moved. It's also becoming very trendy here, and new people want what other people are selling. So they feel they should move because they're going to get that much more for their house. But these are lifelong residents of this town. And by not considering them and not considering the people here, I feel you're doing an injustice to a lot of people in town. And to address about Kevin's situation, sad for you, Kevin. You know what? When I left here last meeting, I was really proud of you. You stood up for what you felt we needed. I felt you were really going places, and I think many other people did too. But I guess tonight, we'll really understand what happened. I think you might have been gutted. Yeah.
Thank you.
How are you? Charles LaRue, 2nd Street. Thank you, Council, for everything you do. I appreciate the volunteer service everyone does. Just a couple quick things. Everyone harped on all the positives and negatives. There's a lot of positives here and a lot of negatives, right? The building department, the shared services, I'm a personal victim of every single day of my life. Once they left, it changed my world completely. These are things that we potentially can profit on also. So instead of thinking as a fee, as everyone says, think of this as an investment, because when we do have those other people that potentially want to use us, we can make money off of them and potentially pay these off faster, if that's the case. My thing is, what number would actually work? We speak about size. We speak about 10 million, 15 million. How do we actually decide on a number? That's never going to happen. So let's do it. Cost of building is increasing, as you had said. So the longer we wait, the longer it's going to rise in cost. Plain and simple. Highlands is totally an investment. Let's think that way. Did we miss opportunities with Cottrell's, with the season, with other things? Absolutely. But let's think of an investment moving forward. This is forward, right? Redevelopment. If anyone thinks that will not bring residents and money to this town, I don't even know how to say that. There's going to be hundreds more people that live here, hundreds of businesses. That redevelopment is everything this town needs, and it's going to happen, whether we like it or not. It's happening. Be part of it. Kevin, it's all right. I've made mistakes in my life. Proud to stand up for them. Accountability is what this world needs. Okay? Right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever your choice is. I'm not telling you yes or no. Mistakes can be made, okay? Stand up for your friends. I stand up for them first. Sometimes I realize maybe that wasn't the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Patricia Rivera, Water Capital. So I want to talk to you guys as a gig worker. This is a gig economy. A lot of us were hurt this past year through COVID. A lot of industry shut down. I know you don't think I'm going to pay $5 for my money, but when I have to pay that's a health insurance payment for me. So I want you to think about those people that may not have high income because it's not easy. You don't even know when your next job is. And I support having a plain water. Not only the police, no one's talking about the borough but besides the cost of this building and the size of this building, it's the electric, the heating, the cooling, the flat phone, cable. That's a bill that's going to be way higher than $185 forever on a building that size. So I really think we should take the fourth away and just reconsider making it a small building. I want everyone happy. I think there's compromise. And think about people who may not have the same advantages financially as other people. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, I'm going to close public works. Oh, okay.
Paris. Listening to everybody here tonight, it seems like the majority of the people are in a flux. They want it, they don't want it. Or they want it, but they don't want to spend that kind of money. Or they just don't know what they want. One thing I certainly don't want is someone telling me that $183 is not a lot of money when it comes to a council person. When you don't realize that a guy like me, who's heavily invested in this town, has 5 properties. So that's almost $1,000 a year you want me to pay for. When I asked every single council member before each of you and you what you could do in terms of a compromise, I got crickets. I got nothing. Why is this building not being used as corporate? Why is this building, more importantly, not being used for the construction officials? We have so much work going on here, and it's being held back. And when the previous administration moved it to Middletown, Charlie, where are you? How much did all the fees go up? More than 30%. For no reason. Oh, we got to go to Middletown. Well, when you go to another city, you have to pay their fee structure. We'll bring it back here and lower it 30%. Or keep it at 30% and use that money toward building the new city hall. I asked you, and then I put in the paper the other day, I asked you about shared services with other communities. I also said, we're not reinventing the wheel. All you have to do is look at what the other cities, the other parts of the country did after calamity and catastrophe. The federal government bailed them out, the state bailed them out, the county bailed them out. Why? Economic redevelopment. They brought county, state, and federal offices here. Now, Middletown is getting stuffed. Why isn't Highlands? The Bayshore region, we don't have a municipal county service or a state service. Did any of you try and seek out any of those offices? Did you go to the state officials and say, hey, we're in a lot of trouble here. Could you help us out? Oh, well, they brought in FEMA money. When we first started talking about building this building, FEMA was going to do 60%. Well, your predecessors and employees dropped the ball. They didn't keep proper accounting figures, so we're getting screwed for millions and millions of dollars. Out of Mayor, am I wrong?
About people dropping the ball?
Yeah. Yeah, if we have the right accounting for all the costs.
Are you talking about from Sandy?
Yeah.
FEMA's already given us, I believe, $3.8 million
Oh, that's a
in
lot of money,
reimbursement.
isn't it?
It is,
Could it have
considering
almost
it doesn't, if you're going to be argumentative, I'm not going to speak.
I apologize.
That is a very large figure when it does not take into account the building of a new borough hall. Because then when you're going to put on that $5 million that FEMA has told us that they will reimburse us for, then is close to $9 million not a good number?
Well, the problem with FEMA is the fact that we had to move off the footprint because we couldn't get any money, because we still in funds out. And they made no accounting for that, and no city officials, either sitting here or before you, pursued that in any way. And if you did, you didn't tell the public about it, because I didn't read anything about it.
I can't speak to what happened.
I know you can't, but did you talk with anybody in FEMA about getting any kind of additional funding as a result of our being forced to move?
It's part of it's folded into that money of having a forced leave.
And did you talk to anybody in the state? Not you, you didn't.
Right.
Any state officials about bringing anybody in to save us part of that?
She will address your comments when she votes. And just to be clear, just so everyone knows, we don't deal with FEMA directly. That's not a direct relationship because we're small municipalities. Actually, all of the cities do, whether they're a small town like ours or if they're Middletown, which is gigantic. So to make any comparison between us and Middletown is really an unfair comparison. They have hundreds of thousands of people there, and we simply don't. We deal with New Jersey OEM, which is a state agency, and those are the people that we speak to often. And they then go kick it over to FEMA, and that's how the process works.
So has any of these council people gone before the county board of commissioners now and asked for any county services to be housed in the borough of Highlands?
And that would make the building more expensive.
Why would it make the building more expensive if they were part of the building?
Granted. Again,
They were part of the building, but they...
I can't speak for what anyone else has done, and they will answer your comments before they vote. Okay?
So there's been nothing on the
I did not say that, sir. I said plainly they will answer your comments before they vote. If you are finished with your part of this public hearing, or let me know if you have anything more to add. I won't have an argument.
There isn't.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Yuri. I live 28 Lighthouse. I'm new in this town. I moved like 2 years ago. And I have a couple of questions regarding this construction. I completely agree with all people who were saying that we need borough hall. But the first question, why do we need separate call system? We have, 10,000 people? Fine.
Sir, we do have a judge. The judge just operates out of Atlantic Highlands. The court also doubles as a council room, as the land use board room, and any other large meeting room, such as OEM when there's an emergency. Because this is a community center that's supposed to be used for the recreation department. And every time that we have a meeting here, and every time the land use board has a meeting here in this room, we're taking it away from the rest of the residents that could have programs. It's on the borough website, front page. Projects, you click the button and it takes you right there. Okay. Thank you. Seeing no one else, I'm going to close public portion. And Michelle, I'll offer that.
Second.
Councilmember Martin?
So before I vote, I've actually been looking forward to this. I'm a pretty confrontational person, so this is sort of my wheelhouse in the sense of to talk to Mr. Warren. You know, I have a tremendous amount of respect for you. You know about my father, I know about you. I'm all about hearing people. That's what I try to do. But to go to Mr. Bentham, pitchforks came. And though I have no problem with it, you know, the deeply personal reasons in which I was not here are nobody's business, they came. And when I came back, it was very interesting to walk into the Driftwood or Chubby Pickle and someone telling me some of the not so nice things that were said. None of that affects me, though, 100%. I played in the worst situations. I've lived in the worst situations. It takes a lot for me to get to that point. So you don't have to worry about me being intimidated because I've seen 100 times worse. That said, I voted against it not because I had an issue with the building. My experience with FEMA was 6 funerals. And what I drove on that was I paid for half of this. The thing that came out of that, despite the fact that those people had 6 funerals and they lived in my living room for 4.5 to 5 months, you know what happened to those guys? They went back home and became part of local government. They said they were going to change stuff. And I got to talk to them. I got to talk to the people on Oceanport and a number of other folks. And all I wanted was the ability to have the information to make an informed decision. I don't want to just go with what's going. That's just not who I am. So, with that said, I'm going to say yes, because I have the information that I need in order to make an informed decision.
Councilmember Mazzola?
I'd like to address a few comments that were made this evening and say a few things. I have been in support of this building since I was elected almost 3 years ago. I did vote in 2019 to support a design change. And that's because the council at the time was listening to the residents. We were all here after the town hall meeting that Mayor Neal and the council, and it was overwhelming and astounding the response that we received from the residents that you all really didn't like to look at our town hall at all. You felt like it looked just like Seabright. We're not Seabright, we're Highlands. So with that, we listened to our constituents, and we made a move to change the look of our building. So if we listen to our constituents then, why are we not listening to our constituents now? I would love to have all of you show up in November and have this issue on the ballot in November. That's how I feel, and I know how I'm going to vote when I get behind my curtain. I support the building, and I support our police force wholeheartedly. I was raised by a New York City police officer, who then became a New York City detective. And during my almost 3 years sitting behind this table, I have never said no to any endeavor that has come up in one of these agendas for the police force. So what I'm saying now is not that I don't support the police. I'm not saying I don't support the building. What I'm saying is that this is a large ticket item, which, if we're going to be honest, the council here, actually it was the previous council, I'm sorry, you might have received it. In December, we received an updated estimate from the architect This project, which includes all of the contingencies built in, is already at $12.5 million. And since December, construction materials have risen dramatically. We have seen a 30% increase in construction materials in the past year, which is not sustainable. It's my personal opinion. I'm in the construction industry. It's not sustainable. At some point, and we are starting to see it, albeit very slowly, construction material costs will start to go down because the industry just can't handle it. It's just not sustainable. Secondly, I wasn't on council at the time, but I know that the Army Corps project was a very hot-button issue, and it still is a very hot-button issue. And I did attend several council meetings and listen to both sides, both for and against. The room was packed just like it is today. Several people spoke just like they did today. And I believe that initially a majority of the council supported that program and the Army Corps project. But because of the residents' outcry and because of the reactions from the folks in the audience, they decided to put a mechanism in place that protects everyone from council making that decision for everyone. Not $1 can be spent without that project going to public referendum and being on the ballot. So again, the council at the time listened to the constituents and reacted in what I feel is a very positive way. That project will go and be put on the ballot. So you will all have the opportunity to weigh in. And I respected that. When I heard that, I thought it was ingenious. Why is this project any different? We're still talking about actually we're talking about 12.5 now, but we're still talking about a lot of money here. And again, if I have the opportunity to vote in November, I know how I'm going to vote when that curtain closes behind me. And I'm very fortunate. I can afford it. I can afford that increase in the taxes. But I firmly don't believe that the average person in this town can. And I also believe that the average person and a lot of long-time residents of this town who aren't as fortunate as some of the rest of us can't live here anymore. And I don't think that's fair. And I think that everyone should have a say as to what here. November is only 5 months away. Put it on the ballot. Let the people of this town decide. If it passes, great. We can have this out to bid. We can get our CMGC bound up. We will be ready to break ground in the spring. If it doesn't pass, then we all need to sharpen our pencils. We may need to spend a few extra $100,000 to perhaps value engineer and scale down. But to spend a few $100,000 to save $2 million, isn't it worth it? If that's what the people want. So with that being said, I want to make it very clear to every police officer who are in this room. Okay, so a few of you I know by name. Police Officer Braswell, how are you? Chief, where's Chief? I support you. I have always voted yes. I will continue to support you. But this is not only about you. This is about the taxpayer of this town. I know you need a home, and I want you to have a home. But as a council, I think that we should be heroes and let the people decide instead of being heels and making the decision for the people of this town. So with that, I'm voting no.
Councilmember Melvin?
Just a few words from me. As we vote again on this building, just look back and look at the scope. Thanks, Mayor, for the timeline. The scope of this building covered twice September 19th and March of this year, the scope's unchanged. Just 6 weeks ago, this council, not a previous council, this council, voted unanimously in support of the building, based on that scope. No objections, no reluctance, no clarifying statements. So what's changed since May 5th? I don't see anything that's changed. We still need to get our police and our professionals out of the trailers that they've been working in for years. With regard to the FEMA language in this ordinance, it's remarkably similar to 016-7, which was passed in April 2016, reading in part, said some being inclusive of a reimbursement expected to be received from a federal emergency management agency. That was passed by the council at the time. Mr. Young, Mr. Rigo, Mayor Nolan, Ms. Wells, all agreed that was good, sound logic, and a FEMA commitment that has not yet been reversed. Nothing has changed. That's why, as a council member, as a resident, as a taxpayer, I continue to support our police, our professionals, and this ordinance. I ran for council to help Highland move forward, and part of that is making difficult choices and making difficult votes. And sticking with your beliefs, and the facts remain constant, is part of that deal. Ultimately, the voters of Highlands will be the judge of how my beliefs and choices reflect their values, and that's how a representative democracy works. I vote yes.
Council President Oshesky.
Good evening. I think I'm going to start by addressing the flack over my comment about every now and again. I might take my family out, my children, my grandchildren, an aunt, and maybe I could spend that $185. Is it every week? No. If it means enough, yes. So I think when you take $185 and divide it by 12 months, I can't do the math quick in my head, but it's probably 50 cents a day or something like that, somewhere in that neighborhood. It's not outrageous. We are well behind every other Sandy-affected town. For whatever reason, ideas were good, follow through, whatever. We're behind. And the town is racing forward. Since 2015, I spent a lot of time researching this. Now close to 1,000 properties in this town have changed hands. And they didn't change hands for less value. They've changed hands for more. And let's go to another place. Highlands was something that got talked about because of such high tax rates. Well, the tax rates were high because the property values were so low, particularly after Sandy. A rising tide floats all boats. FEMA seems to be very eager to assist. When we first started to talk about this a few months ago, maybe FEMA was interested in somewhere under $2 million. They're talking $5 million now. Interest rates are crazy low. Under 0.3% for the bond financing, which is saving us $400,000. I thought that's somewhere in there. I'll take that one. Okay. In 7 years from now, the $10 million bond issue that we are paying half of at the high school is done. The last payment from us is $300,000. I know people have talked about, well, what's going to happen in a few years if there's this, if there's that. I don't know what's going to happen in a few years, but I do know that bond issue will be done, and that's available money. I lived 40 years in Fort Lee. I left. Was it easy? No, I knew nobody in Highlands, but I left. Part of that reason my husband and I left was an economic decision.
decision.
I'm far more financially comfortable now in Highlands in my retirement, especially now I'm widowed. It was maybe one of the better decisions that I've made. I love this town. And I'm not making the decision that I'm about to make rashly. I'm a numbers person. I'm a cruncher. And I think it is a smart decision for Highlands. And so I vote yes.
Mayor Brion?
A lot of folks were talking about shared services. As Mr. LaRue greatly pointed out, we had to comply with Middletown's fees, which made those fees go through the roof. So that was more of a cost to the residents. Actually, in last year, our shared service with the building department in Middletown cost us $100,000. Because that building department is supposed to be self-sustainable. The fees are supposed to be able to pay for the staff. But because our cost to Middletown is about $200,000, and we only recouped $95,000 in fees. So not all shared services work, and this is a prime example of why we need the space to get a building department back. Yes, it's 58 cents a day. 58 cents a day. So figure what everybody, including myself, buy a pack of gum. I can't even say it's a cup of coffee because it's less than a cup of coffee. 58 cents a day. Also mentioned, as I scribble down here in my notes, about police department shared service. Well, let me tell you some background again, because maybe not everyone was here, maybe not everyone was paying attention. The former mayor in 2017 went to Middletown, wanted to do a shared service for the police. It was studied. It didn't work for both towns, so it went away. 2019, again, former mayor now reached out to Seabright, tried to do a shared service with the police. It didn't work for both towns. So that tells me a shared service for our police does not work. It will not work, at least with our surrounding towns. I'm not even going to go into different union issues. And our police and our staff need a safe and clean and dry place to work. But going back to our police department, I'm not going to look into any more shared services. I don't care if the DCA ever answers that email that was sent out 2 years ago, because as long as I'm mayor, we're not getting rid of our police department. Full stop. And with that, I vote yes.
This ordinance has passed on second and final reading. We also have two ordinances for introduction tonight. The first is O-2126, an ordinance amending Chapter 7, Schedule 1, no parking of the Code of the Borough of Highlands related to areas of no parking in various locations throughout the borough.
I'll offer it.
Second.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes, Captain.
Thank you. Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
I actually had several conversations with the chief about this, and I'm going to vote yes, with the caveat that between now and the next meeting, he's going to take the time to tour some of these areas with me, because I want to take a look at exactly what it is that we're discussing before I cast my next vote. But for now, I will vote yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Oshesky?
Yes.
Mayor Brion?
Yes.
This ordinance is passed on first reading with public hearing set for July 14th. Next ordinance is O-2129, an ordinance amending Section 21-65.14 of the Borough Code to address off-street parking requirements.
I'll offer it.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Oshesky?
Yes.
Mayor Brion?
Yes.
This ordinance has passed on first reading with public hearing set for August 18, 2020, due to transmittal of the ordinance to the Land Use Board. Next item on the agenda is resolution. We have R21-134, a resolution authorizing payment of bills.
I'll offer it.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Olszewski?
Yes.
Mayor Bouillon?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt. Next, we have R21-135, a resolution authorizing the issue of refunding bonds of the Borough of Highlands in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey, and providing for the form, maturities, interest rates, and other details thereof, and for the sale thereof to the Monmouth County Improvement Authority.
Pat, could you just speak briefly to this before we vote?
Hi, good evening. A couple of meetings ago, we had an ordinance passed doing a refunding bond issue, and that we took that ordinance, which was voted on by the governing body, we brought it in front of the state, Department of Community Affairs. They all agreed on it, and this is just a technical format that we need to have approved, and it's going to be saving the borough. It's estimated to be $462,000, as our council president has alluded to, because of good interest rates. Hoping this gets approved.
With that, I'll offer it.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Olszewski?
Yes.
Mayor Bouillon?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt. Next, we have R2136, a resolution approving renewal of liquor licenses for the 2020, 2021, and 2021-2022 term.
I'll offer it.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Olszewski?
Yes.
Mayor Bouillon?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt. R21-137, a resolution approving renewal of liquor licenses for the 2021-22 term.
I'll offer it.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Olszewski?
Yes.
Mayor Bouillon?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt. Next, we have R21-138, a resolution requesting permission for the dedication by rider for donations new Borough Hall project.
Just to briefly explain this and the following resolution, very much so like how we have a recreation trust and police explorers trust, we are doing these two trust accounts so that folks can go directly in, so they would make make a check to the borough, and then in the memo it says where it goes to. Sort of like the rec, every summer when we had rec, we didn't have it last year, I would write a check to the borough and put in summer recreation, and then it would go directly into that check. So that way you don't have to involve another outside agency of a local 501c3, and then there's more paperwork. This way everything's handled directly by the borough. And so this was for the new Borough Hall project, and with that I will offer.
Second.
I'm sorry, who is that?
Mazzola.
Thank you. Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Olszewski?
Yes.
Mayor Bouillon?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt. Next, we have R21-139, a resolution requesting permission for the dedication by rider for donations skate park improvements.
I'll offer it.
Second.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Olszewski?
Yes.
Mayor Bouillon?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt. Next, we have R21-140, a resolution appointing fire police.
I'll offer it.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Olszewski?
Yes.
Mayor Bouillon?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt. Next, we have R21-141, a resolution accepting donation of a motor vehicle from the County of Monmouth for use by the First Aid Squad.
I'll offer it.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Oshesky?
Yes.
Mayor Brion?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt. R 21-142, a resolution authorizing the award of a non-fair and open contract for professional engineering services for the Veterans Park Rip Rap Slope Stabilization Improvement.
Briefly, this is, riprap is a fancy engineering term for rocks. So, in Seabright, that's that rock wall that you see, that's riprap. It's rocks, and you mix up concrete, and then it becomes impervious. So we wanted to raise the riprap so that it goes higher up at Pets Park. That way, when we have nor'easters, instead of the tide coming in through the park and then flooding Bay Avenue, there's that rock wall will be there. And with that,
I'll second.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Oshesky?
Yes.
Mayor Brion?
yes.
Motion carries to adopt. Next, we have R 21-143, a resolution authorizing the award of a non-fair and open contract for professional engineering services for the restoration of the bulkhead along Marine Place, South Marine Place, and Snug Harbor Avenue.
And again, briefly, this is for finally for the repair of Marine Place on both sides to take care of the rust, the holes, all of it. With that, I'll offer.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Oshesky?
Yes.
Mayor Brion?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt. Next, we have R 21-144, a resolution authorizing temporary street closure.
I'll offer it.
Second.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Oshesky?
Yes.
Mayor Brion?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt. R 21-145, a resolution authorizing temporary street closure.
I'll offer.
Second.
Councilmember Martin? Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Oshesky?
Yes.
Mayor Brion?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt. The last resolution is R 21-146, a resolution approving first aid squad application.
Gladly, I will offer this.
I'll second.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzola?
Yes.
Councilmember Melnick?
Yes.
Council President Oshesky?
Yes.
Mayor Brion?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt. There are no items under other business, so next item on agenda is reports.
I'll start.
Okay.
So starting with communications, we've got continued refinement of the website, inclusive of addressing the content which needs to be improved for clarity, as well as the revamped approach to the view of committee meetings, land use meetings, and the liaisons. So we're looking for fewer clicks for consolidated views. For those areas that aren't going to be in focus for major redevelopment, we're looking to do additional tutorials for those frequently accessed sections, so like the building department permits, and DPW. From a social media perspective, we continue to gain views and followers from the Instagram account that we have, a 20% increase since April of 21. We've got over 2,200 followers now on our Facebook page, our official Facebook page, over 1,200 engagements to the borough post. So that's not just people seeing the post, but actually engaging, clicking on links, taking a look in to see what we've got as far as content is concerned. And then lastly, Twitter, it's the least popular channel, not sure why, but that's only about 150 impressions, which is eyes on tweets over the past month.
Do you have any comparison as to what it was